Call the meeting to order. Approval of the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good night. Public comment? Any new business? Nope. Old business? We're going to go to outside user organizations code of conduct.
Hello, Commissioners. Good evening. First off, I want to apologize to Commissioner Lopez for the last meeting, since I said we weren't going to have one, and then all of a sudden we had one, and she had trips planned, so I apologize for that. I got my dates all screwed up. Tonight, we talked at our last meeting about an issue that we're having where the groups that use our facilities have found it necessary at times to be abusive of our staff, you as commissioners, our volunteers, and even within their own organization, some of their people. So the conversation that I brought forward was to talk about if there's a need to create a policy that we could codify and have some consequences, I guess, for poor behavior by some of the players, and I use that in the generic term, not the individual players, but participants and parents and things in some of our groups that use our facilities. What I asked Brittany to do was to leave you a little stack of players, parent, and codes of conduct. A couple of them are the City of Santa Maria, we have code of conduct already for people who use our facilities and participate in our programs, but these are more along the lines of those that are actually participants in our programs using our facilities. So what we're really looking at here is, do we need to take another step, go out a little bit further and say those people who use our facilities, in order to continue to use the facilities, that they would need to develop and follow up a code of conduct that the city has approved. So we pulled some examples together. Every one of the examples that we gave you talk a little bit about criticizing people or conduct, disorderly conduct, inappropriate behavior, vulgar language and or gestures, inappropriate displays of affection, abuse of parks, those kinds of things are in the city's policies. And at the library, they have one that harassing of library users or staff is prohibited. Harassment includes, but not limited to, verbal and nonverbal expressions. Every one of these talks a little bit about those things. In the sports parent code of conduct, kind of the blue sheet, it says, I will respect the officials and their authority during the game. Just those kinds of statements are made kind of broadly. In the code of conduct for our sports programs, those adult leagues that we run, we operate, no player or coach or bench personnel shall use profanity or vulgar language, unacceptable in the general community. This is really directed like street talk that happens, that you just end up having, or some other term is shop talk, where it's okay when you're in a closed environment, but in this case, our policies don't allow that even. So the question is, do we want to look at creating a policy that would require those individuals using our facilities either to have a policy in place that addresses this kind of behavior, and not only this kind of behavior at the location, but even taking it a step further and looking at this kind of behavior when it comes to social media, where people certainly seem to be free to present their ideas or thoughts about people, programs, individuals. Yeah. Sports teams, yeah. I talked to the city attorney and asked him, I said, this is kind of where we're looking down this road, what do you think? And he was not opposed to looking at something from the commission. Obviously, you have their individuals' constitutional rights to freedom of speech, but there are still parameters even in those areas. And it just really depends how we end up wordsmithing something that if the commission wanted to proceed on it, that would create something that's fair and equitable for everybody. What the outcomes would be, I don't know. I mean, I think we've all been in the position where we've had to deal with a sports program that's come here at some point in time. And for the most part, the people are respectful. They present their cases, their issues, and they're fine. But again, it just seems like when people step away from the podium here, that in the social media realm of things, anything goes. And it's difficult for us to monitor, of course, but it certainly is also, I think, kind of our responsibility to make sure people understand that there is some consequence for using city facilities and city program facilities to not be the role model that you should be for our youth. If you're a parent or a coach out there and you take to the social media and post things that are, hurtful, vulgar, it just doesn't have a place. And if we foster that by letting those kinds of groups or individuals use our facilities, I think that's an important watchguard job that we have. We always worry about how our youth are being exposed to violence and crime and those kinds of things. And to me, this is just another version of it, just on a different level. So that's kind of what we talked about at the last meeting. I wanted to get some ideas of your thoughts on whether we should proceed down a path like this. If so, maybe some of you have some examples of your own issues that you've had to deal with, whether it's related to your jobs here as commissioners, or just secondhand information that you may have heard, or anecdotal information, and whether it's something that we want to do. My thought is the city already has I think Casey wrote this, the rules of conduct and exclusion process for public parks, plazas, and facilities. You wrote this, right? Yeah, so, Casey went to great extremes to develop this, kind of patterned after the library. Yeah. So I'm going to depend on his lawyer background, too, to help us out. But this would probably be where we would include a section like that, where we would actually extend it a little bit beyond that, as opposed to writing a whole separate section to the code, is amending this code section. And it's Title 8, Public Facilities and Services.
Commissioner?
I think it would be I just think it's our responsibility to do something like that. And I do really like Casey's. I love the library one as well, but this is perfect for us to piggyback? Yeah. But yeah, I think it's something we should pursue.
Is the main thing that we would have to add, is that the online element?
Yeah, I don't think we talk about social media. We don't talk about print, kinds of things that like, sending letters or those kinds of things. We don't have a lot of that. We don't have a lot of, I think the harassment part of staff is limited in this, and maybe beefing that section up a little bit. We had a situation the other day in our office where we had an applicant for a job come into the office and kept coming back and wanted answers, and the front office staff really couldn't give them to him. It got to a point where they were concerned, for their safety, in the office. And so those are the kinds of things that we just don't really address in this particular policy. This was really drafted for like the youth center, having an issue at the youth center, or somebody at a park that doesn't want to leave or is camping or whatever it is. So, but I'll let Casey talk about this one, but that's pretty much what we're looking at, addressing social media and other situations of harassment or threats that we don't address in here.
Commissioner Lopez?
I mean, is there examples that you can
give us what had happened or what happened? And it's interesting because
Sure.
how do you go about controlling the general public from saying or not saying anything on their social media? I understand we have code of conduct, but how do you communicate that to the general public,
Yes.
especially those who are involved in the sports or use, like that gentleman that kept coming over
Yeah.
and over and over? How do you?
So anecdotally, I can give you some examples, but let me go back to, so the thing that we would be looking at is holding these organizations' boards of directors responsible for their people's conduct. So what a group does is they'll come in and let's just say it's a rugby group, and they rent a facility from us. And they have a league, and they come in and they do things, and for some reason, they don't like the staff member that's in charge of their program or whatever it is, and they go to social media. Somebody goes to social media and berates them on social media. That would be something that we would be able to come back to that board and say, hey, you know, you're using our facilities. Generally, they're using them at a pretty discounted rate, if not free, and say, you know, you're jeopardizing your use of a city facility because your volunteers or your board members, you know, aren't following our code of conduct. That was kind of the way that I would look at it. I know that there have been some particular situations where social media has been used to accuse people of things that aren't correct and or spread rumor, you know, out there. And again, it's not so much that it would be maybe the general parent that's out there. But when it comes from the league president or a league officer, you know, it's kind of like, you know, never bite the hand in this case, that we don't feed them, but we support you. We may support you in a really behind the scenes kind of a way by providing a facility, but we do support those groups, and that's really what we're looking at.
I think it's no question to really create the code of conduct or add to it as far as social media or anything, or anything else, because I mean, if we're addressing leadership, if leadership of sports are out there are the ones who are doing things, and absolutely we need to address that immediately, and having code of conduct for them. That way we can always go back to it if anything happens. So absolutely, we need to have one, and we need to have a detailed one and include social media and everything else that to let them know. That's what I think.
Commissioner Lee?
Yes, I believe I sent Alex some examples that we used at the university. It's called the spirit of competition, but in this case, we could expand it to other business matters. But I think in general, we have a responsibility to empower others to take personal responsibility and be civil. It's okay for one to be disappointed about a rule or a referee or whatnot, but there's a right way and a wrong way to go about it. And I think that's how we need to address it. If someone goes about it by just blowing up, then there has to be accountability. Otherwise, they're not learning from the experience as well. I think overall, it's our responsibility to empower others to learn about life skills and be successful in life and happy in life. And that's the ultimate goal that we're trying to accomplish.
Thank you. I think over this last weekend, I went to a game, and probably one of the best games I've seen in a while. And it turned into the parents, the coaches, the fans. It just got ugly out there in the stands. And it wasn't, it was a school event. And I couldn't believe that it carried on that far when there was nobody to stop it, not even the coaches, head coaches and stuff. And it carries on to social media. I see it today with that. And these are young kids. Their parents should be role models. The board should be a role model. And it's hard to be a Chris Rock all the time, you know? You can only take so much abuse, and you try to be a nice person, but these people are, sometimes they're abusive. And you get into yourself in a position where, you know, other parents and coaches are in bad positions, and it'll get sometimes a bad situation. And I've seen it out there, and I've seen it this weekend. It had nothing to do with the city, but there was nobody to complain to. I'm sure they have ADs, but basically it just went, you know, let it go. And it was accepted at that game. And I thought it was pretty bad role models for the coaches, the parents, and it carried over into the kids, into the field. And they even posted some things on Santa Maria Times that it was not a very good situation for the little ones that were watching. And being commissioners in the city of Santa Maria, and I think it's our responsibility to create some type of code of conduct where you're gonna go out there and root for your child and not be, you know, threatened. And that's where a lot of people are being threatened. And you sit there and you don't want to create problems for your child. You want to create problems for the program. So you decide not to even go to your game because you don't even want to do that. You don't want to be that person. So I think that rules a code of conduct should have been, because I've been in this program for years, and I've seen parents in all phases of football and basketball. Me and Alex seen it all. And there's really no consequences for when they do that. The board of directors will suspend them. If it's a good board, they'll kick them out of the program. But you rarely see that. And like I said, it's called detrimental to the league, and the boards should, if somebody breaks the law, if somebody's threatening a parent, if somebody's threatening a coach, if they catch them doing obscenities and stuff like that to other players, there should be some type of rules. And if that board doesn't do anything, then the city has a right to say, hey, I complained to my board and they didn't do anything. So now I'm telling the city that this is what happened. So the board's not gonna, because every league or everybody that uses our facilities has some type of board, and they have their own code of conduct. So that's why I say I think it's in our best interest to be role models, and it starts here at the commission, myself included, to be good role models. And right now we have a lot of good role models, but we have a lot of not so good, you know. And we need to find a way how to make this community make events, in every event, car shows and whatever that we are involved in, make sure that there's some type of consequences, you know, to using the facilities. And got to have something to the parents to settle down, I think so, personally. And I've seen it way too many times. And I've been involved in a lot of stuff, but mostly I just keep it to myself and just, you know, let it go. But it's hard sometimes. To be the bigger man, it's hard when they're threatening you the way your family and the way yours were. It's hard. Control down. So I think the city should do something about it, have some type of code of conduct.
Okay. Well, I think that's, you know, is what we think we should do too, to some extent. And, you know, maybe if a couple of commissioners want to step up and work with us on that, that would be great. I think we want to come up with, maybe give us till the July meeting to bring something back. But if a couple of you want to work with us on it, since Casey did such a fine job on the policy in general, he's got the most experience with it. I'm sure he's volunteering to be the staff on that. But something I'll participate in too, because I think there, you know, like Commissioner Morlena says, there's a lot of history in sports in the area, and not all of it is good. There have been always some issues, and, you know, the city's pretty much taken a back seat for many, many years. But now that things are just so blatant through social media that, you know, we really can't. we really have to come up with something.
And I do want to add one more thing. I think due to lack of coaches out there, the sports boards are being desperate or are desperate to just select anyone that comes in and says, I want to be a coach. I don't know if there's, a lot of them, which I've been involved in, there's no training provided. Like for the Junior Giants program, for example, had excellent training. You had to finish a certain amount of courses to be able to coach or become an assistant coach or to become a team mom. Other organizations that I've been involved with my son, none of that. You're a coach, whether you have experience or not, there's no training, there's no formal training, here's a code of conduct, you need to. So in order for us to hold them accountable, I don't want to say we have to have some sort of training because it's just too much for the Works and Parks, but there has to be some sort of meeting. Guidelines and meeting that comes from either the commission or Casey or Dennis that, hey, this is the rule. If you hire your coaches or have volunteer coaches, this is what you need to do with them.
Yeah, and many of the leagues have those kinds of rules. The problem is a lot of them don't follow up
Right.
because it falls back on that volunteer board of directors to follow up on. We used to participate in a program called National Youth Sports, and they offered a series of trainings that, we would run our coaches through. But you're right, it does lack that. It's like any other job, there's got to be some training. You might know the sport component of it, but do you understand the coaching component of it and the responsibilities that come along with it? So I understand Commissioner Lopez just volunteered for the committee.
I'm more than happy to do it. Only because I did the Junior Giants training program. And it was to the point where you actually became almost like a social worker. If you saw something, you need to report it. That's the type of training they gave us. And I was just an assistant coach, I can't imagine. So absolutely, I'll help out with that.
I think we ran a program, Dennis, the program that we had over there at the church, what was that called?
I think that was the National Youth Sports Program.
It was a couple of months back at the church, it was there? The coaches meeting.
That was.
Dennis will come back to him.
There was a whole title there,
And, yeah, we went to play and we were there and there was a lot of coaches were there.
Yeah, that was hosted by Fighting Back Santa Maria.
Yes. Fighting Back Santa Maria, wasn't it?
And
For
we
the
can certainly,
coaches.
I'm sure they'll do it again. I mean, I'm sure we'll.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, and I went to that and it was very, interesting. You learned a lot. There was a lot of coaches there, young coaches, like she said. And it was a training that a lot of coaches should have went to and they just skipped it. So we do have that. We did have that. And I went to it because I thought, and I spent the whole day there. And it was, I think we haven't fed them lunch, right?
We did
Yeah,
have
and we're working on the Train the Trainer program here, so we'll have our sports staff be able to train our coaches for our other sports programs along that same methodology, which is a little bit different than Junior Giants, but they're very parallel. So we're working on hopefully getting a couple staff trained to bring them on to make sure we can train other coaches.
Commissioner Lopez, anybody else want to step up and participate? Like Commissioner Lee, because, he's got his sports management background.
Forte.
Okay. We'll get something together for the next, I just can't even believe we're already in, what month is it, May? Jeez.
Cinco de Mayo.
Cinco de Mayo, yeah. That was a whole other story. So we'll try and get something going in the next couple of weeks to meet, and then with the goal of trying to bring something back to you in July to look at. We'll have missed all of Little League season by that point, so. Thank you,
Okay.
Commissioners.
Carrying on, we have director and management staff to the budget and human resource update. Mr. Smeda.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Happy to be here to report on our status related to our budget, as well as human resources and hiring. So page 1 is where we are today. That's our entire budget, including Measure U. We're at about 70%, at 83% of the fiscal year, so that makes it look like we're doing amazing. The next page, as I've shared with you in the last few commission meetings, is the discretionary budget. That this is money we're actually allowed to spend. We're at about 83%, so we're on par, more or less. I've just noticed as I've run our expenditure reports from month to month that there are some areas where it looks like we're starting to cut back or just pull back a little bit so that we can stay within budget. The other part is we have a lot of vacancies, a lot of positions, so a lot of salary savings. That's where, I don't want to say borrowing, we're utilizing funds from salary savings to help fill some gaps to pay for supplies and equipment and maintenance in our various programs. As for recruitment and hiring, with summer starting up, we have a lot going on. We are actively hiring lifeguards, swim instructors or education specialists, aquatic safety and education specialists, and recreation clerks to work at the youth center and the pool. And so we're expecting a very busy summer, and we're hoping to get a full complement of staffing for our summer programs. And it's not just the aquatics programs, it's also our recreation programs. So continuously looking for recreation activity leaders and facilities. They're continuing to be rented, and for us to be able to rent out facilities, we need staff to be able to help with setup and takedown and custodial work. And so we're always hiring building attendants as well.
Thank you, Neville. So, give me the update. We had interviews last week. Oh, sorry, it's all a blur. For the vacant assistant director position, and the city human resources office is in negotiations with a candidate right now. That's kind of where it is until they tell me one way or the other if this person is interested and has accepted the city's offer. Yeah, so that was we had a good pool of candidates, so it was a varied level of experience and work skills. So it was good. So hopefully in the next week or so, maybe we'll know if we have an assistant director or not. Thanks.
And then the just last thing I want to just mention to this group is that we are actively working with the HR department in trying to do some reorganization, some restructuring. We're hoping that we'll be able to make the changes necessary to keep up with the times and the changes in the workforce. And so perhaps by the next meeting we'll have a lot more information, but that is an active conversation and discussion with our HR department. You will see on the recruitment and hiring page, we have a lot of vacancies that we're holding open specifically in the hope that we can do some restructuring. It does create a shortage for the here and now, but we're looking at the larger picture in a hope that we can complete a large part of the restructuring we're hoping to do. Anybody have any questions?
Commissioner?
Thank you, Neville. Commissioner Melena, so the other thing is Thursday, we are having a team building session over at the Edwards Community Center. It's an all-day session. If any of you would like to stop by, starts at 8:30 in the morning. It'll be our supervisory staff there. We're bringing in a training consultant to work on developing supervisory skills, team building, those kinds of topics. And you're welcome to pop in and visit us for a little while. It's 8:30 till about 4:30. If you come at lunchtime, maybe we'll even feed you I'm Brittany. Thanks.
Okay, moving on to noteworthy activities, Mr. Dennis Smitherin.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I just wanted to follow up on some great programs. We've talked a lot about the SMORE grant program, and that also affects our finances because a lot of those programs that you see in the recreation budget are multi-year. So this year we have $500,000, for example, from the SMORE program. Since that's multi-year, it actually looks like we're better than we really are because that is spread out over a couple of years. And we have that in a couple of situations, the SMORE, the Whale Tail, and a multitude of other grants that look like we're doing better and have more expendable funds than we really do. So, but again, lots going on. We had the Kite Festival again, great event, over 500 people there. I got to stop by, bring my little dog with me, and see a lot of kids flying kites. It was just another great community event. Again, that's in partnership with the Discovery Museum. I know I talked a little bit about this in the past, but really it's one of those that we work better with partners sometimes, and that's a great example. Stephanie's in the audience tonight, whose staff led that with the Discovery Museum and really did a great job. So this last weekend, which will probably show up on the next agenda item, is again, Stephanie and her crew worked with the library, teamed up to host Dia de los Niños, Day of the Child, right here at La Avenida Plaza on McClellan Street. I think our city manager counted at one point early in the day around 500-600 people within the first hour or so. So it was a really good turnout, lots of activities and lots of fun. The weekend before, we hosted another very similar event. We did not host, sorry. We participated in another event with Councilmember Escobedo at Quistapachi, if I remember correctly. Sorry, it's been a couple weeks. Oakley Park, thank you. So again, lots going on in the community for our youth. We're really going to be focusing on that for a little bit, working to get the right staff to work with teens so we can get back out in the community as well. So lots of great activities. And I don't want to go right into my program report, but so I'll leave it there.
Any questions?
I just have a question / comment. How do you come up with these programs? Because some of them are just so innovative and they just sound so great.
I would say about 90% is a really great staff doing research and looking around and seeing what's there. We utilize the leisure needs assessment, listening to what the community wants. We have staff out at the Friday night events who are listening to the community. We've been out in front of Vallarta, the flea market, the Wednesday at the farmers market. Really, they're just listening a lot and hearing what people want. We're about to go out for another leisure needs assessment at the beginning of the new fiscal year, and so it'll give us a new opportunity to refresh after COVID. But we really love to listen to what the community wants via email, via Facebook, or just those conversations. And you guys too. I know that Ann was really excited about a virtual reality program, and had we not already been moving forward, that would have been the opportunity. So please share if you hear of those kind of activities, events. The other 10% that we talk about are usually borrowed from other cities that we think would have a real good impact here in our city as well. So a lot of research, a lot of recreation guides from other cities. Thank you.
Moving on to Director's Report.
So I'm not sure how many of you noticed that we have a new format for our material that you're getting.
That's good.
I'm trying to get used to it. It's all electronic now. Brittany's trying to keep me straight on it. But you'll start seeing those changes coming out in the way your agenda is presented, the way your minutes are presented. When we do our staff work, it'll all be done electronically and fed into the system, and then it will be generated out that way. So your computers are going to be very important to you. They are now going to be your new friends as this rolls out. So remember your passwords and bring your computers with you when you're at the meeting so that you can refer to it. They promised me that it's going to make things better. So I'm just going to pass that on. So it only took me 20 minutes today to log in, so. So it is, once we get used to it, I'm sure it's like anything else, it'll be fine. I already mentioned the assistant director position being out there. The probably one of the more political things that is going to happen, and we talked a little bit about this the last meeting or the meeting before, and that was the handicap access issues at Seamus Park. We met with the city's ADA coordinator, the Americans with Disability Act coordinator, and our risk management staff about a week or so ago. And the upshot of the discussion was that the commission truly needs to look at closing Seamus Field. It is cost prohibitive to make it accessible. We've been tasked with coming up with alternatives for the groups that are there. We're going to finish out the Little League season, which is coming up probably, like I say, by June, July, it'll be pretty much wrapped up. And then the plan is to, which it already is, I'm not changing anything, is to close off Seamus Field, the basin area anyway. It's already gated, and we already close it during the non-year. But what we have been doing is renting it out for activities, soccer practice, and those kinds of things. That will not be possible. The city, again, to put a ramp in is one cost, maybe $250,000 to $300,000. The second part of that is once you get people on the field, then all the accessibility on the field is another cost. Getting people into the stands are not accessible. It just is this domino effect of costs. So what we've been challenged with is trying to find an alternate location where if we need to invest some money to make a facility available that is accessible to the sports groups, then we need to start looking. So we're going to look and we're going to analyze some of our existing facilities and seeing if there's a way to, where we don't have the challenge of having to be 12 feet below grade. You know, we can deal with a 2 or 3 foot grade change in elevation, but when you're talking about 12 feet, it's pretty dramatic. And the lack of accessible parking and the lack of accessible stands, it's an issue. So I wanted to bring that up to you. Probably at your July meeting, we'll have a little bit more information. We're going to have to wait till July to have some money to bring in a consultant to work on alternative sites. But Commissioner Malena mentioned to me, and many other people have mentioned to me, that there's probably a 60-year, 70-year history of Seamus Park, maybe not as the basin as it is. I think that happened like in the 50s, somewhere around there, where it used to be level, and then they sunk it down to handle retention. And then in the design at the time, they said, hey, this is great. We got built-in banks. We can put a Little League field in there. We can do, and it's worked for all these years, and but we didn't have the accessibility issues to deal with, throughout. Yeah, so it's politically, it's going to be an issue, and we just need to be prepared for that. But realistically, to spend anywhere between $500,000 to $1 million on that particular facility, it may make more sense to find another facility where we can upgrade it to meet the needs better. So we're going to work on that, and we'll bring you more later.
Good luck.
Yeah.
The reason I say is, well, Alex and I have been a part of that for a while. In Southside Little League, it's history, and it's going to be a rough one. And when we lost girls softball at Armstrong Park, we moved to we had an alternative field, right? We went to Hagerman. So we went from 2 fields to 4 fields. And we moved there. But we had been at Armstrong Park forever, and that was an issue. But alternative place, you know, you have to have that before you do that, I just say, you know. Because Southside Little League is Southside Little League, you know. A lot of history there. Good luck. Thank you. Any recreational division port? Dennis Smitherman.
Thank you, Commissioners. I want to let you know that the new recreation guide, look, I'm being suspenseful here, is in final draft, so we will have it out early next week, both English and Spanish. We are going to try to print some, but only for distribution at our main office and some of our community centers. We've got a lot of requests for that, so they will be available there. I'll be sure to bring some to the next meeting so you can also have some to pass out. I also wanted to share, and thanks Brittany for the reminder. She did not let me forget. I did bring the sponsorship opportunity packet. I believe that hopefully you have more than one. I gave her a stack. If not, we have some more in her nice bag down there. And it really just talks about what the benefits are for the business or community that is interested in participating in sponsorships and what they will receive in return. So there's some different levels, as well as we're always willing to discuss with them something more individual to their organization or business. So they don't have to quite fit within these levels, but this does open the door to have those communications with them about how they would be interested in participating and hopefully get the best bang for their buck. Currently, I did share last month that our most recent was Raising Cane's. So we are grateful to have them as a partner. You'll see them at concerts in the park. You'll see them even handing out free food at some of our youth sports activities. So it's been a really good partnership so far. And they've contributed generously towards helping kids play youth sports and other financial assistance dollars that we are able to use for programming. So coming up, we do have concerts in the park. We have, I believe I'm looking back at Stephanie here. We have 10 weeks available, 10 weekends available. That will be 9 weekends available. That will be hosting concerts in the park. And the reason why the 10th one is we're going to be working with a group to host one of the last events here at Seamus Basin in the month of June. We already had those on the books, so we will be working with them. So they're taking one of the weekends for us and paying for the band and everything. So car show, some food trucks, and a bigger event. So we're taking that weekend off from concerts in the park. Again, lots of upcoming activities. We're looking at 2 movies in the park this summer. It's a little bit of a challenge for us because it is so cold here that when we've held 6 or 7 starting in June, our attendance is really low because at 8 or 9 o'clock it gets a little too cold. So we're looking to have those in July and August, and really just a lot of great summer activities. I'd like you to put on your calendar, and this is a big tentative, but Friday, June 9th, I almost said July again, Alex. Friday, June 9th is the tentative grand opening, ribbon cutting for the Machado Plaza. That's at 4 p.m. I believe that we're about 50% of the way guaranteed for that date, but you'll get a formal email invitation. I do want to say that this is a ribbon cutting. We'll have light hors d'oeuvres and light music and a lot of mingling. We're going to host a grand opening at a later time, which will be a little bit more ruckus raising than this. This will be for our dignitaries and for guests of Teresa Machado's and her family. And we'll do the official ribbon cutting on June 9th at 4 p.m. So please tentatively put that in your calendar. That is my report.
Thank you, Dennis. Operation Division Board, Mr. Casey Stone.
Okay, so I'm going to start with the capital projects update. I'm going to go through it rather quickly, but if there's anything on this list that you want me to expand upon, I will try, or pass the mic to somebody else. So just a quick recap, PG sports lighting, so that's going to be Adam Basin and Crossroads. Soil samples for both locations are complete. Foundation design is underway. Phase 1 at Enos Ranch is going to Enos Park. Get started very quickly. So that's going to be mostly the dirt work. And I know, Alex, you're overseeing some painting going on right now too, which is already underway. Battles Road Corridor, so that's going to be the new trail. Dennis is primary on that one, but my understanding is the concept designs are approved, and we're now awaiting I think there's been an agreement in principle on that additional 30 feet, but they've got to get the contracts together for that, so that's still in the works. Presker Trail project, more or less complete. We're going to be meeting out there end of this week to do a final walk with the contractor. There will be a few small items that we'll ask to be corrected or looked at, but for the most part, we're close to having that complete. Number of other things, the pool has the new filters installed and the chemical feed system. I think there's a controller pending there, but I think it was reheating last week. Is that right, Dennis?
Yep, we are almost officially up and running. We are a little bit ahead of schedule. And again, barring any unforeseen circumstances, we hope to open May 22nd, about a week ahead of schedule. We're testing it right now, making sure everything's clean. Unfortunately, the recreation pool, the heater is no longer in commission, so we'll be looking at how we can find $70,000 to buy a new heater for that pool.
Next on the list is we've got 2 pocket parks that are pending. So we've got one that's going to be located at North Miller and also North DeJoy. Concept design submitted on the North Miller, and then North DeJoy. We're awaiting some light selections. I know we had narrowed that down, but have we locked down which one we're going to go with there? Okay. Okay, so yeah, my notes are a little short on that one. Sports complex, I think you've already heard about that, and I don't think anything's really advanced at this point, so I won't dwell on that. But Veterans Memorial Park, so phase 1 on that is going to take off, we think, in late June or early July, so we're really close on that. And that's going to be the street in front of Veterans, between the street and the park. That's going to be kind of the starting point there, where all the new pavers are going to go in, and a lot of the dirt work for the park itself will happen. Court resurfacing, we're working with the Public Works Department right now to put together an RFP, because we've got a lot of tennis courts, primarily Minami, where they're just really worn down and they need some work. But we're also going to see if we can expand that, if we can afford it, to work on some of the basketball surfacing at a few other locations around the city. So I should know more on that in June. We're getting close. I think we've mentioned that we're going to be getting a new restroom facility at Presker Park. So that's going to be a freestanding unit. It's a brand called Green Flush. We had a meeting with them last week, and I think right now we're probably looking at end of October, early November as the install date. We're hoping a little quicker, but that's kind of the time frame that they've given us. And then we're continuing to work with Public Works on the sidewalk management plan for parks. It's going to be really nice when they get that up and running. It's going to be using the computer system to really kind of drop pins around the city when we've got things we want to look at, so that we can get them in the queue. But with all that data, it's got to be managed properly, so that's a little bit time consuming. But we're continuing to work on that. And now I'll switch over really quick to just some highlights about the park operations side. So April 22nd was a big day. We worked with Rotary Club and Serve Santa Maria on several park improvement projects. So Rotary Club obviously worked at Rotary Park. That whole entrance, if you've been down there to the park, park operations worked with them and had everything kind of staged, but did a lot of new planting down there, a lot of mulch spread in those planters, upgraded the wood chips in that area. Also saw bathrooms painted down there. So the idea with the bathrooms, and it's not a drastic change in paint color, but we're going to a new uniform paint color for all park restrooms. The idea being when they get hit with some graffiti, we're going to use that exact same color match to paint over it, so we don't have to redo the whole thing. We can do blocks, but it won't stand out. So it's going to take a little bit of time to get there, but it's going to be worth it, and I think save money in the long run. The other projects that were done by Serve Santa Maria were the Buena Vista Park project. So again, some new plantings there, spreading mulch, some chips at the playgrounds. And then also they had probably 35 to 40 people up at the Presker Park building, where we've done some work lately. And they repainted much of the fence around that building for us. So that was a big help, and they did a really nice job. Jim May Park gazebo was repainted recently. Also, some DG, decomposed granite, was replenished at that location. We've already talked about the rotary restrooms. City Rangers have worked with the police department and also special districts on cleaning up some unlawful encampments. So there was a rather large one along the railroad tracks near Hayward Lumber. So that was cleaned recently, and then also several in the riverbed have continued to be a problem. So that will be ongoing, but we will keep it up. Let's see here. We are working right now on a request for a proposal for the park restrooms to be cleaned. So we currently have a contractor, but we would like to see an improvement in service. So we're really looking at, getting more hours and also adding a few different locations that aren't currently being cleaned by the current vendor. So that's going to be open until about May 15th, and then from there, we're going to go through the selection process. So we'll have some updates next meeting on that. A lot of work right now is going into the tobacco enforcement project. So right now, we're in the works as far as updating the website. We've got to do several form updates. So that's going to be the application, inspection, updating the database to show who the vendors are, who's got the proper licensing, who needs to get up to date on their licensing. Officers and staff are undergoing training, and that's both on the inspections and then also the community outreach. Getting the materials together for that is a lengthy process too. Also working on the finance component and the license and appeal process. So we're making progress, but we're probably another 30 days away, in my opinion. And then last, working on some preparations for several things at Pioneer Park. We've got some big events coming up, so a big barbecue event May 13th and a big Pioneer picnic on July 8th. In between those two items, there are going to be several renovations. So there's a new stage replacement going in there. Also, probably 70 picnic tables are going to be painted by hopefully one of our volunteer groups in the city. And then a new playground replacement that Dennis has worked on that's going to start May 22nd. So a lot of work done at Pioneer Park. And then also, just to mention too, we're working with the West Coast Customs Group. At the end of May, there's going to be another cruise. And so Special Districts crew will be working with putting out all the, driving signs and, street closures and working with the police department on that. So that's it. That's my short report. Any questions?
Sorry, go ahead.
Commissioner Lopez? Go ahead.
I have a question.
Yes.
I just read this. I'm not sure if this was discussed in previous meetings, but the all-inclusive Pioneer Park, what's the progress on that and what is it, actually? I'm curious. I know it's an ADA park, second ADA park, if you will, in
It
Santa
will be
Maria?
the second ADA
Which
accessible
makes
park, fully accessible. We have a very similar one up at Presker Park, which Kiwanis helped sponsor that, and so it's similar in style, but not design. It's a very unique, they're just fun and bright and colorful and accessible for those with different ability types to be able to use it. So again, construction will start May 22nd. We hope to have it open within 2 weeks. And that's the goal anyway. So we will definitely be sure to get pictures out there and share with you, as well as share on our website and social media pages, so people are aware that the second site is now open.
I think that's amazing. Speaking of parks, this new noise ordinance, something about amplified music now has to be approved in front of the Recs and Parks Commission. Can you elaborate?
Yes, so there was a section that we wanted to amend. A lot of the complaints that we've been getting lately is drums, bugles, trumpets, and large groups practicing in the parks. And basically that was the complaint. So we drafted an amendment to the existing ordinance that already bans amplified music without a permit. That would require, if a group wants to practice non-amplified music in the park that falls into one of those realms of music, that they would have to come in and get a permit. That way we could either issue the permit or tell them, hey, that's not a good park for you to be at. Maybe you should try another park or, maybe some other location. A lot of the complaints that we get are from the neighbors that, the sound is just bothersome, I guess is the only way to describe it. The Rangers have gone out. Right now, the current code only talks about amplified music. At the council meeting, Councilmember Escobedo was adamant that these were young people trying to learn music and that the city shouldn't restrict them trying to learn music. We don't see that in the field. We see large groups of adults with percussions, I guess that's what those are called, instruments, and they practice sometimes for a couple of hours out there. And my experience at Manami has been that some of them are pretty bad. So, you know, it was an annoyance. So the council chose not to enact that section. So basically we're back to the old section, which is if you want to have amplified music, sometimes we'll have a special event and somebody wants to bring a band out or a PA system and a DJ, then they come into the office now and they get a permit. So nothing's changed there. That'll continue to be the same.
Question? Questions? Leslie?
With summer coming around the corner, could anyone address the availability of pools and particularly teach swim programs?
Thank you, Commissioner Lee. Yeah, we're really excited for our summer programming. With this latest S'mores grant, we're going to be able to offer 300 youth swim lessons for no cost. So that's definitely a bonus. We're also going to be able to utilize, if needed and if staff is available, our partner pools at Pioneer Valley High School and possibly Santa Maria High School. We will see how the recruitment process goes this summer. It's always a challenge. Right now, lifeguards are making minimum wage in the city, and we've had this discussion a lot in-house. It's hard to compete with In-N-Out making $19 an hour when you're asking a teenager to perform potentially a life-saving measure for $15.50 an hour. And it's a different group that you're dealing with when you're working with parents of kids that are in the pool compared to someone who didn't make your burger right. So we are looking at different ways that we can maybe reevaluate our compensation model. Again, all that is a process here with the city. So again, looking at different options and what might be available. One of the things that Neville worked really hard on this year was to create a new position that combines both a lifeguard and a swim instructor position into one position. While we'll still have lifeguards, now we have this combined position and are able to bring them in at $17.50-ish, $17.09 an hour, which is a little bit more competitive than the basic $15.50. We're still not there yet, and we're still going to continue to try. So hopefully we have a good summer recruitment within the framework we have now, so we're able to offer more. That's the way it is with all of our programs. Our teen programs are that way if we can't find the right staff. Our youth and family programs, we are in desperate need of recreational leaders, lifeguards, swim instructors, most of our entry-level positions. So it'll be a challenge, and Neville has his work cut out for him, but we work with a great HR team here, as well as Jasmine, our community outreach coordinator, who goes out and is really pushing to get the right people to fill these vacancies. So the answer is yes. Hopefully we'll get to use 2 other pools this year.
And are there any drop-in open recreation pool time at the high schools?
At this point, there's no drop-in. Drop-in makes it very challenging for scheduling because we don't know if we need 1 guard, 2 guards, no guards. For us, it makes it hard to just know and forecast what our expenditures are going to be. So the registration system we have in place has been both good and bad. It's not easy to register for a lap swim or for a drop-in time. But it also has allowed us to schedule the right number of guards at any given time to be able to do that. We are looking at some options, maybe for the fall, to be able to offer a drop-in lane or 2. Actually, I need to step back. You can drop in. If space is available, our staff will get you signed up. You sign the little waiver and you can go swimming. The problem we've had in the past is we get patrons who get angry if they show up but there's no lanes available. They tend to let our staff know that they're upset about that. So we do highly encourage the reservation system. It's been the way it has been for the past couple of years, and so we're continuing to encourage that, but we do have drop-in available on a space available basis, so.
And you do have public swim too.
Yes, we're going to have a lot of public swim. We changed that. Last year was our first real year to really be open more for rec swim. So it's a couple hours a day, 5 to 6 days a week, actually 6 to 7 days per week, depending on staffing availability.
Thank you. On the note of aquatics, just FYI, we closed the escrow on the Orchid Aquatic Center. We sold it to the Santa Maria Boys and Girls Club. So they're going to be developing it. But with the somewhat $250,000 or so that we received, we deposited and started an endowment with the Santa Barbara Foundation with the goal of teach Santa Maria to swim. So please access, inquire.
Yeah, that's great news. Do you know when that'll become available?
We just started the endowment.
Okay. I'll touch base with you later on that thing. Yeah, I look forward to that, because with the S'mores grant, being able to get 300 kids in for swim lessons is amazing, and we're really excited to be able to do that. So thank you for that.
You know, I take a walk, try to walk in different areas, and I kind of enjoy stopping and listening to banda practice, you know? So I stop and listen to all those, but I enjoy it, you know? So anyway, Manami Park, what's going on there? I had a couple of calls. I didn't get to stop and see it, some of the backstop falling down, and the bleachers, they had a post holding it up, temporary post at Manami Park.
I'll have to look, I'm not familiar with, you said there was a call about it?
Yeah, they called me and they asked me, I said, I don't know, I haven't been there. They said it was coming down, it was a temporary post that was put up there.
Okay, yeah, I'll have to follow up, I'm not
Yeah.
aware, so.
That's the tennis court section. Yeah, so we're bringing down all those posts that were put back, that were installed around the tennis court area in 77, 78, somewhere around there. They're getting to the point where they're no longer safe.
Oh, yeah.
So we're gonna bring that all down. We're gonna refurbish the landscaping in that area and bring all those posts down. Yeah, it's a 1970s design that's just not sustainable anymore.
Okay, so there's some work going on over there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're also looking at tennis court renovation, adding a couple of pickleball courts there, and taking out there's one tennis court that is beyond our ability to repair it. So we're gonna flip that over to pickleball because it runs a different direction. And then that'll give us 3 pickleball courts and 5 tennis courts in that complex.
And the old handball courts inside, storage still?
They've been open now and then, but yeah, storage for the most part.
We do use them for open gym, so when Manami's open for open gym time for youth or adults, they can come in and ask and we'll unlock them for them, but they're only open during staffed hours.
Oh, they are open though?
Yeah, there's a couple that are open, not all of them are open. I know at least one is open whenever
both-
they're staffed.
I know they're both open.
Are they great?
At least on Tuesdays and
Tuesday,
Thursdays.
Thursday.
when I
Yeah.
go there.
So that's when
Not to the
our
gym.
open gym time is at Manami, so that schedule's available online as well. We open during the day for youth and then evening time for adults. So all it takes is usually a request, and if they're available, then we will let the public use them.
Okay, thank you.
I actually have a comment, as we mentioned Manami, and I want to not add, but build up on what you said regarding the wages. I am very involved when it comes to the Rex Park, and Rex part, I should say, of the Rex and Parks. I do take my kids to a lot of these activities that you put, and one of them is the Manami Center, and some of your lead, what's the title for them? Recreation have not complained, but expressed some concern regarding the minimum wage or their wages, as far as, lack of staff or comparing their wages to In-N-Out. They're like, you can go make a hamburger for more money than what they're making. Of course, I was your advocate and saying, you know, it's intense labor if you work at In-N-Out. It's, of course, they'll pay you what you know, more, but here it's more a fun environment. You know, you get paid for doing what you love, and I'm sure people working in and out do like it, but it's intensive labor there. So just a comment on that. That's the feedback that I get often from the recreation crew that I see, is a lot of work with a little bit of pay, and, you know, just wanted to let you know what you already know.
No, thanks for sharing that, because again, as Neville mentioned, that we are working with HR and finance, trying to regroup the way we're paying people and trying to look at different ways, not asking for more money, but taking the money that we do have and shifting it around so that we can, you know, recruit, retain staff. That's really the goal that we have, to recruit and retain.
And a reason why I mention this is because those particular staff members you have are excellent, and I'd hate for you to lose them to In-N-Out. So, just an FYI.
I just want to comment on the quality of a particular job and why a person finds value in their work, in their training. And if we can explore that value, really emphasize the teaching of life skills, management, organization, leadership skills, where they can take that set of skills, transfer it to further progress in the future. I think we need to explore that.
Yeah, I like that, and I can help with that as a commissioner. So if you have a group of people that you want me to speak to for 20 minutes about empowerment, I can do that. They'll see it as something, an extension of their job. You know, you offer them refreshments, it's a training, it's free of charge, and for you, and it's something that will, you know, cause retention in the long run. So.
I think you have a lot of people who are qualified in the community. Same thing with Commissioner Lopez. I'm a first-generation immigrant who went all the way to a management level at a major university. And we teach life skills, so please take advantage of us.
And on that note, I attended the State of Education earlier today, and a lot of it was, like, they have Partners in Education where they team up with high school students and they take them to visit business owners and see what business owners are looking for in the future from the students, and they let the teachers know, hey, this is what we're looking for, this is what we need you to train the students to do, and in return the students are shopping around per se for their future career or job. So it's very interesting to see all the upcoming projects in education in all the districts here, Santa Barbara, Guadalupe, and Santa Maria. So one of it is Allen Hancock that a lot of us don't take advantage of, that you as this department can send your employees to do some training over the summer of all the various camps that they offer and they have on campus. They also working on bachelor's degree. Cuesta and Allen Hancock will be offering bachelor's degree very soon, which I think it's amazing. And also something to work on. Previous jobs I've had, again, I understand the budget, but previous jobs I've had, they've contributed toward education, higher education. So if you offer that as an incentive for employees who are currently going to school and working for you, Allen Hancock is not free, so it's a good thing, but, work with their schedule or offer training, life skills, that all help. Sending them to things like State of Education for them to hear, all these superintendents coming together and talking about, upcoming projects for your recreation crew would be amazing for them to hear. And they'll feel empowered, so just an FYI. I don't have any more questions, I promise. I'm done.
I think my daughter, she worked for Parks and Rec, was her first job. She moved from moving tables, setting up tables, Then she moved up to Melissa's assistant to file, and she was working in the office, and she graduated Hancock. And Melissa was really good with working with her schedule at school. And so while she was going to school, they would schedule her to work hours and stuff like that. So, but she had Melissa there. So I think scheduling the kids, you know, the school schedule too is very important. And they all need money, so we have to compete with them with the wages and stuff. So, but working for the city is a great job. Anybody else? Dennis?
I'm sneaking out. Thanks for calling me out like that.
All right. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
We didn't do our stuff.
Did we say anything?
That's okay. I'll save it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's fine. It's fine. Everybody's ready to go anyway.
No, no meeting's not adjourned.
You always
We
give me a
have
hard time.
commission, I missed it. Commissioner's oral. There we go, Commissioner, go ahead.
No, I don't want to. No. You know what, and I've jumbled it all together, the commission stuff and then the other stuff, but the first thing I just want to say is I went to today we drove by the skate park in Napomo. Oh my gosh, there were 12 people there, guys there. And it's like, have you seen, it's all spread out and it's just so nice and it had such a good vibe to it. But of the 12 people there were no helmets, no elbow thing, nothing, no pads. My husband was a skater, he's a surfer, and when he was 21, he broke his elbow on a skateboard. So he's always been really cognizant, always talks about it. But it was just so blatantly, you know, and the rules are there, and I shouldn't even be talking about that, but it's just a thing. It's like, that's what we have the issue with. And anyway, I don't know who would even police it in the county, in their county, you know, that's a whole nother thing. But it's a really great facility. It's just really nice. Anyway, I'm on the California Association of Parks and Recreation, and we've had a couple of meetings, Zooms, but they're going to, it looks like we're going to merge with the CPRS, is that what, am I wrong? CPRS, and it looks like they're going to be a subsidy of them starting in the next year. So it was just kind of cool. So the CPRS is going to have the training for commissioners. It's going to recognize commissioners as part of the whole, which hasn't really happened before. So that's a really good thing for all of us. Let's see, what else did we talk about? Oh, the county stuff. You know. Oh, Tuesday, we did urban forest tree planting, I guess on a really windy day, and some of us planted a bunch of oak trees out on West Carmen? Yeah, at the soon-to-be park out there. In the weeds.
What they call it, Carmen Triangle.
Yeah, Carmen Triangle. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, we had the Concerts in the Park selection meeting, which was fun. But where a lot of there were 34 applicants this year, and it was narrowed down to 20, I believe, and then we chose our top ones, and it's all jumbled up, but it's done now. So that's exciting. Let's see. Wednesday, April 26th was the downtown revitalization meeting, which is really interesting. It was the proposal of a 6-story building, literally right up against the parking garage. It looks like a little narrow strip, but it's actually going to be hopefully a 6-story slim mixed-use building, and right across from the old fire station, which is kind of an exciting proposition. I know, but it's kind of cool, because that's a huge thing to do downtown, you know? Anyway, I'm excited about it. I hope it goes through. But the building was beautiful. It kind of blended with our whole complex here. Yeah, it's nice. I guess and the Eno House, if anybody's driven by there, The roof looks fantastic with the molding now. It's, have y'all seen it? It's beautiful, so for sure do that. But that's about it. Oh, Compost Awareness Week this week at Engel Gray. If you don't compost, go by, and they're giving it for free. It's from 10 to 1 at Engel and Gray. You know where that is, on West Betaravia? Yeah. Anyway, I just want to say that because everybody should compost. Okay, that's it. Sorry. Keep
Thank you.
Anybody?
No, I'm looking, I'm sorry.
After planting those trees.
And it was interesting because Scott had, some trees. I don't know if I really call the one a tree, it looked more like a shrub to me, the
Yeah.
spiny.
They weren't supposed to be there.
Well.
They were like the B team of trees.
Yeah, but the one tree, he said, it's really a desert tree. And he planted it because they wanted to see how it would do here, because that's something that, this area, I don't know if it's the state or what, but that we may become more of a desert area. And so they want to plant some trees to see how they would do, and so that they would be a little more mature by the time we really needed those trees. It was interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies. Great job. Ms.
No,
Commissioner
I'm
Lopez?
looking at the Community Partnership Committee, and you and I are on that committee. And part of it is to have any disciplinary action taken by departments against participants in departments of sport programs. Committee members may also serve on the sports review board, so I think I don't know if we should schedule a meeting, but this is one of the things you asked that we can help out with, so just FYI.
We'll get together.
We're in that
Commissioner
committee now. Mr. Commissioner Lee's also in it.
Lopez. Commissioner Lee's in there too? Us three?
He's been voluntold.
So we gotta go?
Terry, who's organizing?
You read
Who's
that?
going to call the meeting?
The chair should. You
So
should
you're
call
going
him.
to call us together? Okay.
Oh, one little thing about that, the stuff you sent out, you should send it, everybody should get that if you haven't, because once you guys get it done, to have it in bullet points on the backstop or wherever people are congregating is a great thing, because they're going to be sitting there reading it over and over. And we could probably do a PSA, couldn't we? I mean, everybody watches those, I would think. I do.
Anything else, Commissioner Lopez? Commissioner Lee? No?
Time to eat?
That's it. I apologize for adjourning early, but Dennis tricked me. He closed all this stuff up, so
He was on it.
he was out of here. I was
No,
like,
I'll
where's he
blame,
going? If he's
I'll blame
going,
it
I'll
on the
leave.
Dodger fan. I'm blaming it on the Dodger fan.
Yeah, somebody tricked me. Huh? I was doing a good job too, huh?
From the Giant fan.
We
who
even
keeps
looked at each
sending the Giant stuff.
Meeting adjourned, huh? That was-